there, it's Ellen Juddy, your PLC lead for high school dance. And woohoo, we are in May. I think one of my students wrote on the board that we have 15 days of school left, so hopefully you guys are right around there. I think today might be 14, not counting the weekends. So we're close. And if you are like me, you are going into show week. My show is next week. Or if you are already done, I hope they went well and were successful. This is our last segment for the year. We are going to be talking about subplans and guest artists. So segment one, we talked about if you have a sub that's a non-dancer, which is probably most of the time, since I think dance subs are very, very few and far between. This segment, we're going to talk about using online platforms and different things you can do for if you need a sub, if you have that non-dance sub. We're going to talk about using online projects and whatnot. And then the third segment, we'll talk about guest artists, bringing guest artists in for that as well if you can't be there. We'll talk about funding as well, even if you are there. So anyway, and then just to let you know, I will be back for the 23-24 school year as the PLC lead for high school dance. So if you have ideas or topics or anything that you want to talk about next year, please, please, please leave a message in the discussion, because we need topics for next year. And I want to do topics that, you really need to discuss. All right, so if we're talking about plans, sub-plans, we have non-dance sub. What can we do? So if we're going to focus on online, first you're going to have to figure out what types of devices are available to the students. So here in my county, we just this year went 1-to-1, which meant every student is issued a Chromebook, and it connects to Wi-Fi. So basically they could just pull their Chromebooks out and get on them. There's an occasional problem with logging in and forgetting passwords, but there is a remedy for that for here. I can go on our homepage and say reset password, so hopefully that's not that big of a deal. If you have if you have kids with Chromebooks, their phones are attached to their fingers nonstop, so they could use their phones to access. Although this year, I don't know that they turned the Wi-Fi off, but something very strange has happened, so the kids don't really get Wi-Fi. We had like a 10-step process to get our phones on the Wi-Fi, and even still it's wonky. So that would sort of depend on your county policies with kids using their devices in class. I know we've gone through all kinds of rules and such. They can't have their phones in class. They can. It's up to the teacher, depending on what you're doing, because we all know that they can be really helpful at times. The kids will look up a song and they'll play it off their phone, so it's just that really is dependent upon your school and rules and such. So if they're able to use their phones, then I think you're set. But then again, you also have to think about equity. I have this kid she's a good kid. I don't understand. Her mom takes away her phone nonstop. So I think she went without a phone for like 3 months. And so it was actually sort of inconvenient for us, because she was pulling up, she was a choreographer and she was pulling up music. She couldn't do that. She had her choreography notes on her phone. She couldn't access that. So that's something else to think about with phones. Does your school have laptop carts that you can sign out? That's another possibility. That sort of went away for us when they did the Chromebook 1-to-1, but that might still be a thing at your school. And then, of course, computer labs. Can you sign up and take the class to a computer lab? I don't know if that's something you want to do if you have a sub. Again, I think you just need to be responsive to each class. Like, I'm thinking there would be a couple classes that I would feel confident that could happen, and then there's 1 or 2 classes that I probably would not send to a computer lab without me and with a sub. So something to think about. Then another thing to think about with this, online lessons, are you going to have them work in pairs? Are they going to work in small groups? Or are you going to have them work by themselves? So another thing to think about. Of course, you can always assign online worksheets. I'm sure by now we all have online platforms that you use. If you can make sure that they will have access, like I said, with the Chromebook, phone, laptop, or go to a computer lab, then you can put worksheets, you can do puzzles, you can do vocabulary. So sort of like that sit-down written work is always a good thing depending on what you're doing. As you move into show, I think a wonderful idea, if you have a sub and you need to get stuff done, projects that work on stuff for the show. So can you assign a small group to start working on a logo for the show and the program? A t-shirt design, that might be one and the same. Can a group of them start working on a promo video for the dance show? So I have somebody who did that for me this semester. I just give her access to the video. Well, they all have access to the videos from the show in the fall. And so she takes snippets of those and then puts the promo video together, and then that gets put up on the announcements. So that's something that they could do. Music editing. I use GarageBand, and it's on my Mac, and so I'm not good at it, but I get by. And most of them, there's like all these things they do on their phone. Like the other day, one of my students, she's like, "Can I help you with music editing?" Because I kept saying I would edit, and then I kept not doing it. And so I was like, "Yeah." So here, I sent her the songs, sent her the directions, and then she was on her phone editing music. And I'm like, I don't even understand, but you know, they know how to do it. So that's also a really good, would be a really good assignment for a day you're not there with a non-dance sub. So all kinds of things that you would need for them to do for the show. Ticketing, I don't know if you, for us, we have to do all of our tickets on GoFan, which is like an online platform. But, you know, you could have them do ticketing. You could, I mean, if you have a class that you trust, they could count costumes, and they could, you know, start working on that. When I do costumes, I have a spreadsheet, and then I write, you know, they have their name, and then the dance, and then the costume, and then, you know, she's a brown dress, size small. So you could give a group access to that, and they could start working on that and pulling costumes. There's all kinds of stuff you can do that would be online. So I would love to hear what kind of stuff you do online for them when you're not there. What kind of stuff do you do? Do you work? Do you have them work in pairs or small groups? Do they work alone? Do you do online worksheets, puzzles, and vocabulary? You could also assign having them make a video. Not a TikTok, a video of them dancing if they're working on specific technique. You could have them do that. If you are not there with a dance sub, they could work in pairs, and one could video while the other one does what the assigned step or technique that they need to do. And then vice versa and switch. You could have them, I mean, heck, you could have them do an online discussion about said video and critique each other. And then show projects that are online. So designing that show logo and t-shirt design, ticket design. There's plenty of online platforms that are real easy to use. If I can figure a couple of them out, I'm sure the kids can. And they can make the promo video. They can edit music for you. So there's all kinds of creative ways that you can, number one, get stuff done if you need to be out and have a sub, and then have them working and getting things done as well. So that is what I do if I'm not here for online. So next segment, we are going to talk about guest artists, and if that is your sub plan, is the guest artist, or if you are their guest artist, we'll talk about all that, getting funding for that kind of thing. So anyway, would love to hear what you do with the students when you have a sub, if you do anything focusing online. And I will see you for the next segment.